Hi, Ravensmaw here again. Same window, same background, same dorky middle-aged guy talking about tabletop role-playing games. I am the creator of Quoth, along with my brother, Arcwynd. Being a game master is, especially in the prep time period, can be a somewhat lonely experience. You're prepping a game, sometimes you're doing it for 3 to 4 hours, but it can still feel kind of lonely, and you can go down a lot of rabbit trails creating your world and never really feel like your players get to experience it the way you do. Well, some great game masters who really involve their players in the process gave us some great advice, which is if you give players an opportunity to help craft the story, not just during game time, but between games and throughout the game, they'll do it because they like telling stories too. That's what tabletop role-playing games are all about. It's about telling stories together, not the GM telling the players a story. And very often, if you prep everything alone and then you log everything alone and you record everything alone and you're the only person responsible for the session log after it's all done, if that's something that you care about, then that's not real interactive. So one of the things we focused on with Quoth was where can we find points where the players can be involved? It's really, really hard to pull them in to get involved in this stuff. So we want to make it as easy as possible. So I wanted to do a video to talk to you about how Quoth targets opportunities to get your players involved in your game. All right, so what you're looking at here is a screen from a real campaign in Quoth, classic campaign from Dungeon 134, 2006, The Wormcrawl Fissure. This is actually from a game that my brother, co-creator of Quoth, created or ran. That's a better way of saying it. This is actually a scene from the game that he ran with his players. So what you're seeing here is what it looks like in Quoth when you're in the session view. The session is one of the most unique parts of Quoth because it's kind of the headquarters for the game master while they're running the game. So let's talk about how players can experience this live in Quoth. You can see all the different notes that are here on the page for the entrance to the Wormcrawl Fissure, right? So that's what they're seeing. Let's take a look at what the player sees. All right, check it out. This is a character in the game here. You can see Age of Worms right there. You can see that this player has 2 campaigns that they're in. A player can be in as many campaigns as they want or can for multiple GMs. So we'll see them all listed there if they're playing in multiple games, which is a lot of fun. And then we'll enter the campaign here. And this gets us to the player sort of homepage for the campaign. And you can see the player has got access on the left-hand side here to all the adventures that have been run and all the sessions that have been run in that campaign. So they can go back and look at all the stuff I'm going to show you. So everything gets recorded. If you have a game and you share some things or they write some notes, it's all right there, session by session for the player, not just for the game master. One of the first things that a player can do is they can edit their own character. So you can see got the character here. I can click edit. And that takes me to the player page, which, or the character PC page, where both I and the game master can make some changes. So you can see I've got Eric's character there. I could write my long description, which I haven't done yet. I can also, make changes to the full description, change my image and things like that. And then there's this tab right there called the character sheet. Now, the character sheet does not replace the paper character sheet that you keep in front of you. Some people use D&D Beyond or whatever, or their own stuff if you got your own campaign going. That's cool. This is really a communication between you and the game master, right? So I might put in here rogue, right? Subclass, species, level, armor class 14, speed 30 feet. I can do all this kind of stuff. I can put my hit point. Why am I doing all this? This is for the game master. I don't know if you've ever played in a live game where a game master might ask you to ask you as a player to hand them your basic stats, right? Now, I'm using the basic setup for Dungeons and Dragons here, but this is totally customizable by the game master, and that stuff's going to show up on my little homepage here, so that whenever I see my character, it will be right there waiting for me. All right, now you can see kind of what the character sheet looks like for the player. That's what they see, but it's also what the game master sees, which is pretty cool. They now can see those basic statistics, and they can find them on their other page. So that's one way you can stay involved as a player using Quoth. So let me go back to Age of Worms here. Okay, you can see the game master has marked the upcoming game as live. It's got the date on there, which and it says live now. So as soon as I log in, I can take a look at that. I can also go over here to the Chronicle. This is one of the cool parts of Quoth 2, keeping your players involved by telling the story. If I go to the Chronicle, this is all the game session, the sessions for the Age of Worms that have been marked complete. If a session is marked complete by the game master, the session log goes into the Chronicle so that I can go through and check out all the different session logs that have been recorded for this game. You can see I'm going through them now, so I kind of go back in time and notice all the things that were shared during that game. Right now, it's mainly just the session logs in here, but anything else that was shared in that game would be here too. Players can go back and look at any of the shared Codex entries, which are like wiki entries in Quoth. You know, it's like your lore and history and characters and items and whatever else you share. It's your library of books and all that kind of stuff. So anything that was shared during that game will be right here. And that makes it an easy way for players to go back and read the story of your campaign, right? If it's not marked as complete, they'll actually be able to also continue to edit those. And I can show you how to do that too. So we'll go back to the overview, and I'm going to enter the session as though we're getting ready to play this game this afternoon, tonight, whatever. All right, not much here. Not much here. That's because the game has just started, but you can see all the things that I have available to me. I can check for updates. I'll go through that in just a second. I can participate in the session log. I do that as a player by clicking Claim Scribe. This makes sure that only one player is writing in the session log at a given time. Then they release the scribe if somebody else is going to write into it. So if there was a new note that needed to be added here, they could add it. Right there. And then they save the log like that and release the scribe. Here's what's cool. The game master and the players share the same session log. All right, now I'm back in the GM view, and you can see the note was just added, which I can just delete and make it go away. And then that is saved, and the players will see the same thing. Because, as you can see, the session log has updated automatically for the player. Oh, by the way, on this view, I can make that sidebar go away. That's just for navigation anyway. So if I don't need it, away it goes. Oh, and by the way, players can view this in a mobile view, which, you know, a lot of players will just bring their phones, not a tablet or a laptop, to a game. So Quoth is mobile friendly, and they can see all that same information here. It's just, it kind of moves down to the bottom of the log. Oh, wait! Here's the notes section. That's down there at the bottom too. And they can write their own private notes that are automatically saved in Quoth, and they'll be there forever. They can always go back to the session and see the private notes that they made for that game. So if they forgot what loot or the name of somebody or the town, it's all right here. Session by session, they can keep those notes. Pretty cool. I mean, some players may not want to use this, but if they don't bring along a piece of paper, they can always use the mobile version. That's the idea, is adding tools to help, not replacing all the cool stuff that they already have, unless they just want to use it, right? Another thing that they can do is they can pass a note to the GM. So let's just say they want to quietly, without the rest of the party knowing, sneak into a back alley to buy a potion. I sneak into the back alley to buy the potion. Oh, when the party isn't looking. Yeah, sure, you could use, like an old Domino's napkin that they wrote on to pass this to the GM, which is still fun and cool, but then the, GM has to keep that note at some point, stuffed in all their other stuff that they have sitting in front of them. This allows them to just send it to them straight. And they send that note. I'll show you what the GM will see. The GM instantly gets a pop-up right here in the corner. Note passed to you from Conjavar Moreau. I sneak into the back alley to buy the potion when the party isn't looking, right? It really doesn't matter where the GM is in the app, wherever they are, no big deal. They will see this note pop up, and if they click on it, they will be able to go right back to that scene. So if I click on it right here, it's going to take me right back. So even if you as the GM are sort of dancing around the app, looking at things during the game, you can see now it takes you straight to the note. And that's in the notes section here, right? File to my notes. This is kind of cool. I sent this twice because I kind of messed up the first one. Just ignore that. Recording wasn't on. Anyway, I can file this to my notes. If I want to remember this for later, I have my notes, which are on this tab, and I can file it to my notes. I can dismiss this second one here, and I will file this to my notes. And now that's permanently added to my notes section as the GM, which I can edit anytime as well. So have Con roll a skill check. A DC 16, right? Done. Because he's trying to sneak past his party, and they're, got to pass the perception of 16 or whatever. There it is. So now I can keep notes. They can send me notes, and any player-to-player notes will be here, which are automatically hidden for the GM. If there's some PvP stuff being planned in the background there, that can be done right here. But maybe you're wondering how the GM passes notes. Well, they can do that anytime. Let me show you how a GM can send things to the player and then what the player sees when they send it. So the first thing that we can do is, let's say I introduce the scene, and here's some read aloud text, for my scene that I've written there. I might give a shortened version of this, right? But I do want them to see this map, I want them to be able to read it. That's cool. So I'm going to push that to the players, and I can choose to send it to the whole party, or I can just send it to Con. We're going to send it to Con right there. Check it out. Now, what happened? Well, let's look. As you can see, the player gets an instant notification. No matter where they are in their scene, they see the worm crawl fissure has just been sent to them. So they can go over here to updates, and there it is. They can open it up, and they can read the entire read to player text. So say I was kind of lazy, I didn't want to read the whole thing, no big deal. But, I wanted to, read the whole thing because I like to read, and I'm a player. Now I've got it, and I've got a map here that I can look at in large view, which pops up really big on a desktop, but, and take a closer look there. All right, and then it stays right here. I don't have to mark it red. I can leave it right there. It can stay forever if I want to. I can file it to my notes, which that just kind of looks like that. Remind me that that's one of the places that we went to that the GM shared with me. And that's saved automatically. All right, so I'm going to click off of that because I don't need that update anymore. And that just sits right there. When I go back to my session as a player, that will always be there. So what's another thing that the GM can do? Well, I'm going to show you what happens. I'm not going to show you the GM screen, but I'm going to show you what the player gets whenever the GM sends them a note. All right, I'm going to write a quick note here in the GM screen under push to players. All right. See, I just wrote a little note. I'm going to send it to one player. We're going to send it to Con, and boom. Oh, you can see I just sent a note from the GM side, and it showed up for the player side. Meeting at Gamers Haven. Don't forget to BYO dice, because we get tired of sharing dice. Bring your own dice. Dice are like little, special treasures. Why somebody would forget their dice, I will never understand. But they still do. And don't forget to BYO dice. That's a game night info. And I just sent, you can see it says private to you because I just sent it to one player. You can send it to the whole party. Obviously really easy. And then I can get rid of that up there. And now I've got 2 notes saved to my session. That's 2 of the ways that players can stay involved. They can pass a note to the GM. They can keep their own notes. They can share the shared session log with the GM and keep it up to date. And they can go back and check it out later. All right, if you have any questions, you can always check me out at our Discord channel or info@QuothGM.com. I am Ravensmaw, and thanks for watching.